So here we are in a 3-bed semi-detached property in Doncaster in Small Grove, and what we're going to try and work out with this property that is non-standard construction, see if it's worth buying, flipping, renting or moving in. Let's go. So it's you can immediately tell it is not the most well kept property. There is crap everywhere. You come straight in, stairs are right in front of you, and then coming in here, lovely open plan arrangement, no doors in this house, and look, it's rough, it needs work. And something I'll mention now before I forget is issues with the windows all the way through. You might not be able to see it on camera, but there's some of them, they're bent up and things, and little things like windows people don't really take account of, but on this property it's the difference of about £7,000 in the refurbishment. But let's carry on through here and just see the weird layout. So this is the kind of, I don't even know what you'd call this, entrance room. It's a bit run down, but it's weird in the shape. So I guess this is the lounge, number one. Then come through here, we've got this sort of kitchen, and then you've got the second lounge here, which actually is kind of weird. It's decent flooring, which we're still going to take up and everything, but kind of cool here, but just really taking up space. And again, see here with the windows all sealed in around here, mainly because if you give that a shove, that will go straight out. Not a great feature of a house, and it's a very strange layout here, and it's just not very well kept at all. And we'll get some shots of the front and back garden in a moment. But if we go on outside, you can see coming through here, kitchen. It's actually not a bad layout of kitchen considering. Now, forget the fact they're all sticky and horrible and stuff like that. Obviously it needs a complete rip out and start again, but the general layout is pretty decent. So as we walk out of the kitchen here into the outbuilding, you can see it's really not good quality. And if you come back in a little, Alex, and just look up here, you know, it's a bit worn, it's all a bit tacky. I mean, there's no safety around this whatsoever. And after doing a little bit of research, I think a nice little drink there as well, a little research on this, it's really not adding any value whatsoever. It's really not. So my recommendation with this sort of thing is by the time you've sorted out the cost of this, you have to rip this out, take the windows out, all of that, the bricks sturdy and everything. You might as well just get rid, because it's adding no value, just extra cost. And for me, I'd rather feel a third of a skip with this and just be done with it. Let's move upstairs. Stairs are all right in this property, don't worry. They're not too bad for your Yorkshire property, good old Doncaster. So as we're going around here, there's already a rip out that started here, and you'll see that as we're going around. But this is a non-standard construction property. If you don't know what that is, since the war there were a lot of non-standard builds that were put up because there was a new need for quick housing going on. And what that meant with a lot of non-standard constructions is a lot of the standard construction compliance that you would go through didn't get adhered to, and it was really quick. And what that means, fast forwarding today, is there are a lot of properties that actually it's really difficult getting a mortgage. So there's two particular non-standard construction where actually getting a mortgage is all right. Number one is Airy Build. We actually, if you remember the Wincover properties that I bought and refurbed on here, if not, you can go back, maybe we'll put a link to that at the end. Both of those were Airy Build properties. No problem getting mortgages, you just need to make sure you got the right provider. This one is a Wimpy No Fines, F-I-N-E-S. What that means is, Wimpy non-standard construction, there's a couple of different types, and the one that is mortgageable is the no fines. What that means is, in the concrete, because this is a concrete build, within it, it's big particles, if you like, that are made up. So you can see here, it's not sand. Okay, so when it's made of sand in there, what that means is there can be movement, there can get air, they can get water in them, and it causes issues long term. So the way that we get around this, and you should too, is first of all, this is part of an estate. They were all built at the same time. So you want to make sure, is it a detached property? Because if it is, that's harder to do research on, but it's not, it's a semi, it's attached to something. It's also part of an estate. So what we did, and what you should do, is get 4 or 5 land reg. They cost £3, no more. Do a couple of land reg and you can see if they've all got lending on, which they did. And also you want to talk to some local estate agents to see if they've had any issues when they've sold properties in the area, to see if they've got mortgages on. And it's all thumbs up from us, which is why we end up moving forward on this property. Let's carry on. So I'm sure we can do some B-roll over whilst I'm talking right now, but as you can see as we're going around, this is not a well-kept property. You can sort of see that from the kitchen. This was a lived-in property. So the owner of this property, the vendor, lives in Spain, owned it for many years, and they were leaving it down to their son, who was coming and going with mates, using it as a bit of a DOS house. And it was, you know, it was used for drugs and things like that. Not very well kept. Now, something I really want you to think about when you're viewing a property is it kind of doesn't make a difference. Say the kitchen is a bit shoddy, say the bathroom is a bit shoddy, but they really kept it clean. It doesn't matter, it's still getting ripped out if you're doing a full refurbishment. So the fact that it's unkept as a property is actually a real plus for me, because when you came in here, there were, well, drugs, as I said, it stunk. It was not a nice place to walk into. The reason why that's good for us as an investor is a majority of the open market are turned away from this property because it's hard to visualize. You know, you've got those senses kicking in, the see, smell, touch sort of thing. And it's hard to walk into this property when you're walking in, stinks as you're going through. In the garage, there's these old mattresses with fleas on them and stuff like that. It's hard to go, yeah, here's where I want to bring up my kids. Okay, it just doesn't happen like that. And so as an investor, you can get around that. But the fact that, you know, it's a bit of a weird layout, but there's decent sized rooms, and this can be a really decent home. And whilst the area and demographic isn't at the highest, you can tell a lot of people are looking after their houses. The grass is kept. And actually, when you're looking outside, you look at this garden compared to next door, they've got a little bird house in there, really well kept garden. It's gated off. That side, it's nice. They've got a trampoline, some flowers. And then you look at this and you're like, dun, dun, dun. And it doesn't really matter, okay? So actually what you're looking for in a property in an area is this the worst house in the street, or is it just a bad street? And my synopsis of a quick walk around and doing my research is it's not a bad area. It's just a crap house in a decent street. And now we want to level up this property so it's in keeping with the rest. So again, with this property, you can see it's a really decent sized room in here. Now this would be the main bedroom. It's one of the, we've just come from the other front one, but it's a really spacious double bed. We've got the bathroom there, which we'll go across to now actually, getting past the rubble. It's weirdly nice. And I would say weirdly because of how badly it was upkept. Like, don't get me wrong, it's not exactly my style, but it's a proper like walk-in shower, properly tiled on here. I mean, don't get me wrong, we're not going to keep it, but it's actually not bad. And more importantly, I'll get out of the way, it's a good size bathroom as well. So you can imagine once we've got that stripped out and then going back in, it's actually well kept. And then we're going to add in some more space with things like this, where it was just this random thing, but that's holding up absolutely nothing there, so can come down. And again, if we look just behind at the third bedroom, you can see obviously a state, but a decent bedroom, considering that would be the box room. Is still actually a double bedroom for the third room in there as well. The things I do for you guys. So we're up in the loft here, and I always like to sort of pop my head up. Alex has had to jimmy me, and he can show you what risks we've just undertaken. And if you don't see any videos for a while, it's because I jumped down and broke both legs from this. But there's a couple of things when we're up here. So first of all, what you'll see, and we'll try to get the camera up here in a moment, is in the center, where in these properties there were steels put in, not like big beams. I mean, like, you'll see a steel frame up here, and the one in the middle is warped, i.e. it's bending like that. Now most people would look at that and go, oh my god, that's terrifying. But this is where you get professional help. So we got a structural surveyor to come in and have a look at it, and there's barely any weight on it, so it wouldn't cause that warped nature of there. Instead, what it is it was probably warped like that when it was put in. But we make sure to look at and get professional guidance on that, because most people would look at that and go, I'm not going anywhere near it. But because we ended up getting that and getting that advice, we had the edge over other people. The other thing in here is not really added anything, but behind me, and maybe we'll be able to see it on camera, there's this random concrete wall just put up, but there's a couple of holes in it, and turns out that adds nothing to the property. In fact, it was put up by the people that were in here to hide drugs behind. So an extra tip if you're looking for a side earn, that was a joke. Moving on. Right, next time, don't let me wear these shoes. Don't put too much weight on it, Jamie. Back downstairs. So this is the outside bit. It's kind of a weird thing actually, because it's quite this weird estate that this is the back garden, if you like, but you can drive to the back garden and park in, and then the front of the house is in this little cul-de-sac, which we'll get to in a moment. But it's a decent outside area actually, and as you're sort of going down here, won't go up and down because of the cars and things like that in there, getting those in shot, but it's quite a community feel. It's almost like you can imagine it's the sort of area where everyone knows everyone. And actually, if you take account of, obviously that's full of crap there, but it goes around here, all around here, it's actually a fairly decent sized space. And once we rip out and get all of the other stuff out of here, I think it will be a nice little barbecue space for the summer. So let's get into the juicy part, the numbers. So this value, end value of this property is anything between 90 and 95,000. I'm gonna say 95,000 on a good day, but realistically, if they came back at 90k, I wouldn't be shocked on it. So let's go along with those figures and work out where we're at. Well, this is gonna need a £20,000 refurbishment. Now, those of you up north will go, that seems pricey. And then I've also had people from down south, near Dartford, where I'm from, going, how the hell are you refurbing a room for that amount of money? But £20,000, and a bulk of that is the windows, okay? Now, we've actually done similar refurbishments to this for about £13,000, but actually with that gas and that mains line coming in and the windows, it's an additional £7,000. We've also got some buying costs on this, but all in with the purchase at £50,000, cheap as chips, 72,500 in. We're going to end up refinancing at £90,000. We're going to try for a bit higher, but here's how the numbers end up at the end. So what we've factored into this property is 13% all in, including VAT for management. We factored in 5% for maintenance, etc. Obviously, it's going to be a newly refurbished property. We factored in 3.5% interest for the mortgage payments, and based on £90,000 refinance. Based on that, we are going to leave in only £5,000 on the property. We're going to make, I think it's £218, net return per calendar month, which is a 52% return on capital employed. Not too shabby. So it's not going to make us millionaires anytime soon, but it's not too bad that by the end of the game on this one, we have bought a £90,000 house with £5,000 worth of our own money. Because of the added value in the property, we've added an additional £17,500. Yep, £17,500 in equity, which means if we sold the property, we'd have another 17.5 grand in our pocket. And for leaving in that 5 grand, we're getting around £2,500 per annum, £218 per month in our pocket all day long. Not a bad return on capital employed when you compare it to the 0 point fuck all that we're getting in the bank account right now. Kind of wish I went in the loft after filming this bit, but the 3 good things that I love about this property. Number 1 is the works that's needed. There's a lot of potential to add value to this property, and I really like it because once this has done a full refurb on it, with this refurb on it, with the space outside, you can imagine getting a great family in here, which is a great tenant type because they're going to stay here for 3 to 5 years plus. And it's always really nice starting from fresh and making this pretty shitty house into somebody's long-term home. Remember, there are two ways really to make money with property, and number one is the situation and number two is the price, and with this we got both. That brings me on to the second thing that I love about this property is the purchase price. We managed to negotiate this for £50,000. Bear in mind, as we said, it needs around 20 grand of refurbishment in it, and it has got an end value of between 90 and 95,000. The third big reason, and you can't see it right now, so we're going to jump into the laptop now, is the development in the area. Now, you can't really see the development in the area just by viewing a property, and this is why online research is so good. And what you can see on this map around us right now is all of the development that's going on. So a lot of people, when you talk to them about this area of Doncaster, a lot of people are like, bit rough, and you have that local stigma. It's happened when I moved to Leeds as well, and the area that I grew up in. But actually, when you start looking at the amount of money that is getting pumped into this area, it only means one thing for property prices: going up. It's not all good though. Here are three bad things about this property. Number one is the drugs, and I don't mean that they're not included with the property, but there were drugs here in the property, and that might seem like a really small thing, but actually if somebody has been using this as a little bit of a DOS house, you do need to think about the added security in a property. So always talk to the neighbours to see, just first of all, meet them face to face, see what they're like in comparison, and just make sure that when you do take over the property, the locks are changed, and security is one of the most important things on your agenda. Number two is the construction type. Now, as we said, this is a wimpy, no fines type of construction, which is non-standard construction, but it is one of the two, including area build, that is one of the easiest to get mortgages on. However, what this means from a resale perspective is, even though a good surveyor will know what they're doing, a lot of them don't, because surveyors aren't gods, believe it or not. But also when it comes to selling on the property, what you can get a property to revalue at for refinance purchases might not be what you end up selling it at, because when people see non-standard construction, they do get scared. Numero tres problema with this property is the space. So it's actually got a really nice amount of space. Just a weird configuration of the property. So as we're going around, like upstairs got a really nice shower room. It's big as a bathroom. I've just triggered there's no bath in there. It's just got a massive shower, but it can be reconfigured. And the same downstairs. So we've got that second lounge over there. That's a really decent sized front room. But as you come in here, the kitchen's kind of small and dingy, but you've got this space, which is a bit of a nothing space, kind of like an entrance room. And for me, I think what we're gonna look to do with it is either knock this through and create a bigger kitchen going through, or turn this into the front room and have the kitchen in there. But it's a great opportunity, but it does annoy me when somebody's got great space and just not thought about the layout to maximize the value in their property. So there we have it, a decent 3-bed semi-detached property with plenty of pros and some cons to it as well. So the question is, am I going to rent it, flip it, live in it, or avoid it? Well, I'm not going to avoid it. I actually think it's a great investment area. There's a lot of developments going on, and I think the prices are going to go up over the medium term. I'm not going to live in it simply just due to its geographic location, nowhere near the office, about 45 minutes drive away. I'm not going to flip it because actually, two reasons. One, I think it's got a lot of capital growth prospects in the area. It's not known as the best area, but actually it's got great development potential. There's a lot of money getting ploughed in by the government in this area, which you saw earlier, and also I'm just getting it at a great price. So by the time we refinance, there's 5 grand left in net. We're doing £218 a month, over 2,500 a year, 52-point-something% return on capital employed. It's a great rental. So my verdict and outcome is we're buying, refurbishing, refinancing, and renting this bad boy out, making a house into somebody's home.